The Boeing CH-47 Chinook is one of the most widely recognized helicopters in military history. Designed as a heavy-lift, tandem-rotor aircraft, it has played a crucial role in U.S. Army operations since the 1960s. Renowned for its dependability and ability to transport troops and cargo efficiently, it has become an essential component of military aviation. However, even the most robust machines are not immune to tragedy. In this video, we will examine the catastrophic loss of Chinook helicopter, an accident that resulted in the deaths of everyone on board. In September 1982, the city of Mannheim, Germany, was preparing for a grand air show to mark its 375th anniversary. To make the event special, 2 Chinook helicopters were invited to participate. The plan was to use these aircraft to drop skydivers attempting to break a world record by forming the largest free-fall circle. Both helicopters arrived at the event as scheduled. However, a last-minute decision led to only 1 aircraft being used for the mission. As a result, all 46 individuals, including dozens of skydivers, were crammed into a single Chinook. The helicopter was originally designed to seat 33 passengers, meaning 11 people had to stand for the duration of the flight. The aircraft took off without any apparent issues and steadily climbed toward its intended altitude of 13,000 feet. However, approximately 12 minutes into the ascent, when the helicopter had reached an estimated altitude between 8,000 and 9,000 feet, an unexpected issue arose. The flight crew radioed the control tower, reporting a problem and their decision to descend for landing. On the ground, the pilot of the second Chinook observed something unusual. Aircraft 292 was descending earlier than expected. Sensing that something might be wrong, he quickly returned to his cockpit and contacted the crew using a private company frequency. The response was unsettling. The pilot of 292 explained that a caution light was flickering. An abnormal noise had been detected, and they had chosen to return for landing as a precaution. However, as the aircraft continued its descent, the crew was faced with an unforeseen problem. The designated landing site was too congested to accommodate them safely. At approximately 600 feet above the ground, the pilots made a split-second decision. Instead of continuing toward the original landing area, they chose to cross over a nearby highway and attempt to land on the opposite side. But as they increased power to adjust the descent, catastrophe struck. Eyewitnesses on the ground reported hearing a loud explosion, followed by a distinct rushing noise. The aircraft suffered a catastrophic in-flight failure, breaking apart mid-air. The aft rotor blades were the first to separate, followed closely by the rear rotor hub and a significant portion of the aft pylon. Moments later, the helicopter's aft transmission and the remaining section of the pylon also detached from the main fuselage. With the helicopter's structural integrity compromised, the Chinook began rolling to the right in an uncontrolled descent. A haunting photograph taken just moments before impact captured one of the skydivers either being forcefully ejected from the aircraft or attempting to escape in a last-ditch effort. Within seconds, Chinook 292 struck the highway connecting Mannheim and Heidelberg. The impact was catastrophic, triggering an enormous fireball that engulfed the wreckage. A towering mushroom cloud of fire and smoke rose over the crash site. The force of the impact, estimated to be around 200 Gs, meant that survival was impossible. With such immense forces at play, the people on board would have experienced the equivalent of tens of thousands of pounds of pressure, making death instantaneous. Once the flames had been extinguished and the debris was cleared, investigators found that the wreckage had been reduced to a pile measuring roughly 15 feet wide, 20 feet long, and no more than 4 feet high. Among those aboard was an AFN television reporter who had planned to capture footage of the historic parachute jump. Following a thorough investigation, experts determined that the crash was caused by a critical failure in the forward transmission system. The oil jets responsible for lubricating the pinion gear assembly had become clogged, ultimately causing mechanical failure. This led to a loss of synchronization between the helicopter's 2 rotors, resulting in its catastrophic breakup mid-flight. All 46 people on board lost their lives, including 7 U.S. military personnel, 5 members of the Chinook flight crew, and 2 AFN journalists who had been documenting the skydiving event. The tragic crash of Chinook remains a powerful reminder of how even the smallest mechanical issues can lead to devastating consequences in aviation.